my name is Beverly, for those that don't know me, and for those that are returning, thank you guys so much for joining me today. As you guys might have already seen by the title of today's video, I'm going to be talking about all sublimation. Yes, we're going to get into detail, talk everything sublimation that I can possibly think of. Now, before I go ahead and get started, I will quickly say I do not consider myself a professional in this term, so please be friendly in the comments. Either correct me or go ahead and drop in any additional information that you think might be helpful in the comments down below. This one's for all my beginners. I get so many comments and questions on my lives and on TikTok and Instagram messages, and people are always asking me, how do you sublimate? What is sublimation? What is the difference between this and that? And I wanted to go ahead and make this video dedicated to all of you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so one of the major questions is, what is sublimation? Everyone wants to know what is sublimation when they are starting out, because you hear that term everywhere, all over TikTok. If you're a crafter or are going to get into crafting, you hear that term a lot. So sublimation is where you take the special ink, it is considered a sublimation ink, and transfers over to your blank or garment. Once heat is applied, the ink turns into a gas, and the gas will bond over to the polyester fabric or blank, transferring over easily. So with that being said, just like a quick example, you're basically taking the special ink and it infuses into your material, garment, or blank. It basically just does like a ink over on a piece of paper, and then you remove the paper, and then you finally have your ink transferred over to your blank of choice. So at the end of the day, it turns into one piece. It's not like you're applying a sticker where you can clearly feel the sticker and the mug or whatever your blank of choice is separately. That would be two different things bonding together, as this one turns it into one whole. Now, let's say if you're wanting to sublimate on an actual garment, let's say per se a sweater. Now, you do need to make sure that that sweater or t-shirt is of 65% polyester or more for your design to actually stay on. Now, if it's not over 65% polyester, is what they recommend. Over time, what will happen is that the ink will start to fade off of the garment, and it would give it more of a faded look. So it's always recommended, if you're going to be sublimating on a garment fabric of your choice, to make sure it is either 65% polyester or more. Technically, the more polyester it has, the more vibrant your image is going to show on there, and the longer lasting it's going to be on there as well. Another thing I will quickly mention is that sublimation doesn't actually print white. Just like your normal household printer does not print white, you're normally printing on a white background, either of that sticker paper for your regular printer or regular plain white copy paper. Sublimation is the same. You will have to understand that if your image has any white on it, that is actually going to show as transparent, or it's going to show the actual color of your garment once you're sublimating over. So that's just a quick tip to remember. Alright, so as you guys could see, the next question is, what is the difference between heat transfer vinyl and sublimation? So that is very simple. Sublimation is, again, where it dyes into the fabric or blank, as opposed to HTV sits on top of your garment or anything else like a sticker. So just think of you applying a sticker to a cup. It is two pieces that they're bonded temporarily together, or maybe even permanently together, but they're still two different pieces, as opposed to when sublimation ink is transferred over to your blank, it actually infuses into your actual blank and it creates one piece instead of two. You can actually even feel the difference. You won't really much feel anything if it's sublimation, because the ink infuses into. And I will show you guys some examples here. As you guys can see here, this is a sweatshirt that is sublimation 100%. You guys will see how I'm feeling it on there, and you really can't tell a difference. You won't feel anything different because it's just ink that goes into the fabric, as opposed to this one here on a t-shirt. You guys can tell, one of my Badass Boss Babe t-shirts, that you can clearly see the vinyl is just temporarily bonded, I would say, on top of my cotton t-shirt there. Okay, so another great question is, what exactly can I sublimate on? So a lot of people always ask me this, and I always give a variety of things. That's the awesome part. So such as polyester garments, such as shirts, baby blankets, maybe baby bibs, or even some blanks that are cured for sublimation, like, for instance, license plates, air fresheners, tumblers, mugs, necklaces, can openers, phone cases, and so much more. Now, with that being said, you can also be somewhat limited if you're wanting to sublimate on things that are simply white and not cured and prepped ready for sublimation. So I do recommend, anytime you are sublimating, you basically look up blanks that are cured and ready for sublimation if it's not a garment. And if it was not prepped ready for sublimation, you would be able to tell is once you try to transfer your image over to your blank, it actually won't stay, it won't won't transfer, because you can't just go to any store, grab yourself, let's say, a white mug and try to sublimate on it, because most likely it won't work. Alright, so now going back to apparel for a minute, I will also say that you're not able to sublimate on dark colored garments just because they won't simply show, even if they are 100% polyester. So it's not really much recommended. Or let's say if you're wanting to take a cotton t-shirt, you're also not able to sublimate on cotton, or I should say you are not recommended to sublimate on cotton, because the sublimation ink won't hold into the fibers. It will actually tend to fade rather quickly. So there is something that is called sublimation cotton spray out there, and you guys can look it up. This basically claims that you're able to sublimate on 100% cotton, or rather enhance the resolution on your garments by adding the spray. I actually have a video on a review on 2 sublimation cotton sprays here on my YouTube channel, so if you guys want to go ahead and check out that video, you guys can do so as well. It will be linked in the description below. Now, another very common question that I get asked, is there a way to sublimate on cotton 100% t-shirts or dark colored t-shirts of any kind of material? That is another very common question that I get. So yes, I will say there is a new material from the brand Caesar. It's called Easy Subli, where it's like a vinyl material or paper, you can call it, that allows you to print using your sublimation printer. Now, I have heard that people are having complications on using converted Epson printers, that the material is either too thick or that it basically will jam through, not allowing them to print directly on it. So that's why technically it was originally created for the original Sawgrass printers. The hack is to use it on the converted Epson sublimation printers. It's cutting out the shape of it on your cutter and then sublimating the image over the already contoured cut piece. I will say Easy Subli is great for personal use or maybe a small quantity of t-shirts, because it's expensive and it can add up over time. So for me, it's just not something that I would want to use on the daily if I'm having t-shirts by using sublimation, because it can get expensive. So for about 50 sheets of the Easy Subli, it's about $100 or so, and you still need a masking sheet with that, and that is about $29 for a 50 pack. Another thing I've seen people start to do sublimating on clear HTV, then applying the HTV on shirts, but depending on the one that you get, it will have a glossy or matte finish. Also, sublimating on a glitter heat transfer vinyl is also one hack that you can do to sublimate on a dark colored garment. And last, if the shirt is dark colored, one, you can sublimate on clear heat transfer vinyl and put it over the white heat transfer vinyl, and that way you can have your design pop so it doesn't get lost in the color of the shirt. And let me go ahead and quickly show you guys an example of that. Okay, so here for example is the t-shirt. As you can tell, this is just my scrap t-shirt that I do a lot of like examples on, and you can tell here where my garment is actually gray. So here it is, and here you can see that I use clear heat transfer vinyl, and I put it down on my shirt. Then using this Luca image, I actually went ahead and sublimated over it. Yes, you can see it, but it's not as vibrant because the garment is a gray color. So this is what I mean when you're wanting to apply heat transfer vinyl to it. Make sure you have a white backing, or else your colors won't pop as much. Either if you're using a white cotton shirt, that would work with this clear heat transfer vinyl and then sublimating, or what you can do here is what I did, is just grab white heat transfer vinyl, then the clear one, then sublimate over top to make your images pop a little bit more. Now with this method, I will say it's not the best like Easy Subli, because this image actually is a little hard and thick, and you're clearly going to be able to feel it through your shirt. So just depending on how comfortable you want to be with your t-shirts, I just don't know if this would work. Now this is a hack and it has worked for some people, but here it is. So this is technically the glossy version of the clear vinyl, and then I also go ahead and show you guys the matte version. So here are some other testings that I did. Of course, you can tell that I burnt it here and there, but here you have the cutout just in a square of that glossy clear vinyl, and this one is more of a contoured shape, and you can tell there you have Sonic the Hedgehog. He is more there on a matte version. So I believe this is the Frosty clear heat transfer vinyl, and this is more of a glossy one, and I will make sure I will link these as well down below. Another common question I get asked is, how can I get a sublimation printer, or do I have to convert? So a lot of people lately are converting, making their own sublimation printers due to on how expensive the original models are, such as Sawgrass printers. If you are wanting wanting to go the cheaper route, I recommend any Epson EcoTank model number printer should work. Also, Epson Workforce models work, just depending on how big you want to print. For example, if you're wanting to print big images for like 2XL shirts and up, I would recommend you look for a model printer that can print up to 13 by 19 to convert, such as an Epson EcoTank 8550 or maybe an Epson EcoTank 15000. But if you're starting out and you mainly want to be using it for smaller projects, then maybe an Epson 2720, just like mine here, will work as well. And it can print up to 8.5 by 14, or any other model that prints that size that's an Epson EcoTank should work as well. But hey, if you are more into it and you want to get kind of smart with it, you can actually split your images with your Epson EcoTank series that print 8.5 by 14 and print 2 images and make one whole bigger one. So you can also get smart with it. Like I mentioned earlier, Sawgrass is the original sublimation printers, but I know that Epson also has a specific model that's already considered a sublimation printer, but it is a little bit more than you converting, making your own. For example, here's mine. Mine cost me about $200 at Best Buy. I believe when they're on sale, they're about still the same for the 2720 series, and it has the tanks, everything's ready to go. I know their models do come with their original ink already for you to use for regular printing, but I don't recommend you using it. If you are purchasing a third-party ink, just go ahead and use your sublimation ink, putting them into the right colors like blacks, yellow, magenta, and cyan blue. So there is that. I have actually split images before to make one bigger one, so I haven't really had the issue of needing a bigger sublimation printer. I will say that they are a little bit slower because they're printing you know, every little color properly. So just keep that in mind. But if you just want to go for the bigger sublimation printers, like I said, 13 by 19 is the way to go then. Alright, so another common question I do get asked is, how do I convert my Epson? Now, I kind of already mentioned on how to do so, but I'm going to go more into detail. So for the Epson EcoTanks, you must purchase separate sublimation inks, normally considered third-party inks. And make sure you purchase based off of how many tanks you have, and do not use the regular ink. So for example, mine has 4 tanks, so I would be purchasing sublimation ink that has those 4 colors that I mentioned, which is black, yellow, magenta, and cyan blue. But there's also some like the 8550, like I mentioned, it can print up to 13 by 19. That one has 6 tanks, so you would need to purchase the additional photo black and that gray color for sublimation if you're going to be using it for sublimation, of course. And once you do have your ink, basically put in a special ink to each one of the tanks, making sure they match and don't mess up, because I almost did it once, and insert by filling each one. Once you're done, your machine will prompt you to do a step-by-step instructions on how to fill it. And before you start printing, another great hack for the best quality is update your drivers. If you guys don't know what updating your drivers is, it's basically once you connected your printer to your computer, you want to go into the printer settings and just see what version that driver is on. If it's at about a 3.0, you need to make sure it's a little bit higher to get better resolution and have additional options for printing. Because if you use it as is, it might work okay, and maybe you'll notice that your images are not best quality as maybe one of your friends are that have the exact same printer. So you want to make sure your drivers are updated. Now, there is a video that I did look up here on YouTube that I seen and that helped me, so I will make sure to go ahead and link it down. Remember, you need to update to the most current version that is like about a 10.0 or higher. The video is linked down here in the description, so you guys will be able to see it. So Epson Workforces work similar. You just need to convert your cartridges and fill the new sublimation ink by purchasing empty cartridges to fill with ink, or I believe somebody uses like syringes, so I'm not too sure about that. I'm just going based off what I've heard. Those can be harder since they will have to be filled with the syringes like I mentioned, and they tend to go through ink much faster because the cartridges are smaller, and you will catch yourself refilling so much more than an EcoTank. I will say with my EcoTank, I have not really had to fill the ink. I did it just to kind of get the rest out of the bottles and then just throw the old bottles away because there weren't no need for them anymore. But my ink on here has been here since February. We are now literally almost in December and I still have not finished the ink. So EcoTanks save you a lot of money, and you will have so much ink to maybe go around all year depending on how much you're printing. So next question, what paper or sublimation ink do I recommend? There are thousands of sublimation brands out there, just like anything else, but when I was doing my research, I came across a lot of people using Cosmos inks, so you might have heard of them already because of the vibrancy and long-lasting print. Angelo, the owner of Cosmos inks, actually has a channel here on YouTube that helps people with more specific questions on his inks, printers, etc. that are compatible, that will work with his ink. So I love and recommend those. And for paper, you can technically use copy paper paper, which is really cool. I bet you didn't know that. But I do recommend sublimation paper, specifically speaking this one on ASUB. I do also have a link where you can get 12% off your purchase that is linked below on this paper. And I will have a future video coming up testing out the paper and just talking a little bit more about it. So stay tuned for that video. You can purchase on Amazon and it comes pretty quick. I do like the thickness of that. As you can see, it's 125 grams. So that's the thickness of the paper. And it is 8.5 by 11. But because I mentioned it could also print 8.5 by 14, I also have that paper here available. I wanted to show you guys another example of how the prints look. You can tell that there's one that's more vibrant and another one that is more faded on here. This one is the one that I did with copy paper. And you can see that, yes, you are able to use copy paper with sublimation ink, but the results will not be as vibrant. As opposed to this one, that's a little bit more vibrant. I did it with the ASUB sublimation paper, and I love the results a lot more. Some people will say they look exactly the same, and then some will say that you can actually see a difference. Here's ASUB over here, and this is just regular copy paper. And another question I will just quickly include in the segment is, how many times can you use that sublimation transfer on anything? Well, as I only would recommend it pressing once, some people can get away with pressing maybe twice, but it is just not recommended because if it comes out a little bit less faded, you might just lose a whole piece of garment there. So I will say that real quick. So what other materials for sublimation do I need? Like I mentioned, ASUB paper I love. Cosmos inks for sublimation I also love. Butcher paper, I just started purchasing mine off Amazon. But if you have a restaurant supply store or anything like that where they sell butcher paper near you, you can purchase that. This is just a roll. It's about a width of 18 inches. And I have it on this U-line paper dispenser that allows me just to pull up and then tear if I need it from there. So that is really helpful. You'll need also heat tape, which is called heat resistant tape on Amazon. Your heat press and your blank of your choice, either if that's a mug or if that's a cup or anything like that. Remember, your heat press will all depend on what type of blank you're going to be using, so it's not always going to be like a flat press like that. All right, so where do I buy my blanks or my poly compatible apparel that works for sublimation? I personally love Aviva online store, or you can walk in. There are various locations around the US that you can look up. It's just called Aviva Wholesale or Aviva Dallas, specifically to which one I like to go in. They do have a variety of different brands to choose from, like Port & Company Dry Fit 100% polyester, which comes in various sizes. But remember, with that being said, the lighter the t-shirt, even if it is 100% polyester, the better that you'll be able to see the sublimation ink through. Or if you're just wanting to use a fully black ink on the polyester shirt for it to be seen through, that will work as well. Here I'm going to go ahead and quickly insert a clip of where I get my t-shirts from Aviva. Alright you guys, so first thing I'm going to go ahead and go to Google and just look up Aviva. Now before I do go into this, I will let you know that Aviva has different various websites, all depending on the state or where exactly you're ordering from. There is one website that's called Aviva Wholesale, which is considered their main website, but then they also go by location depending on if that store has one. So I usually order from Aviva Dallas, which that's where I've been finding my sublimation blanks, and it's been working for me. So once you are on their website, you'll notice that there is a tab up at the top. It says sublimation t-shirt. Once you click there, you'll have two different style t-shirts, but in various sizes. They carry this blackout sublimation t-shirt in adult sizes only. It's $5.50, and it only comes in this color scheme, the black and white, and sizes go up until a 2X. If you go back to the sublimation t-shirts, you'll notice that you have the Sublimate adult polyester t-shirts. You have it in youth, and you'll also have it in toddler, which they all range by prices $4.50 to then $4.25. What's cool about these is that now for your toddlers, you're able to sublimate on t-shirts for the little ones now, basically only getting the color in white, but it is considered 100% polyester. So all of these features are going to be the same on the various sizes that I showed you guys earlier. 100% polyester with moisture management jersey t-shirt. So it is polyester 100%, but it's just slightly a different type of polyester fabric, which works as well for sublimation. As far as the adult sizes, they go up until a 2X, and they're also just in white. Another great tip, other than just finding plain white sublimation t-shirts, if you go under their tab where it says brands and then you go down to Port & Company, any of these performance t-shirts should work for sublimation, as such as the performance t-shirt, the basic one. This does come in various colors, which is really cool, but just remember, sublimation, you're not going to be able to see through the darker colors unless you find maybe like a neon green or a neon pink or neon yellow color. These are 100% polyester as well, as you are able to see here, but they are a different type of polyester fabric. It is a moisture wicking t-shirt style to keep you cool, dry, and comfortable. More like the exercise t-shirts that if you sweat in them or have any moisture, they will dry pretty quick. So it's really cool. I do like these. I've only noticed them in specific colors, like I mentioned, and they only go up until a size 2X. Now they do have it for youth as well as long sleeve, and then youth long sleeves, which are really cool. We'll go into this a little bit more. Same similar colors like I mentioned, but these do go up to $6.50 for adult t-shirts. So I hope this helps you guys, and this is a great place to find your sublimation blanket. Alright, so now that you guys seen that clip, also you guys can purchase some at Hobby Lobby or some 50/50 Heather t-shirts that I'm about to show you guys from Michael's, Walmart for bleaching and sublimating for those that like the more faded type look. The Cricut brand also has their t-shirts that are 100% polyester for what they call infusible ink, which just means sublimation in a different term. They are also at Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Michael's, but I've heard that their sizes run like 2 times smaller, so you just want to make sure that if you do go for one of them, you have to make sure that you find the right ones that fit for you. Other blanks such as mugs, cases, etc., or anything that I mentioned before, like we talked about, you can find them on Google. You can just search sublimation blanks and you can find them wholesale or singles like on Etsy or an Amazon store. Alright, so like I showed you guys, these are the ones from Aviva. These are the Port & Company brand. They are like a dry fit moisture wicking t-shirt. So basically for anybody that works out, if you've tried this material out before, it kind of dries rather quick. These are 100% polyester and you're able to sublimate on these. Here is the light one, which is a white, and then you have a light gray. I haven't purchased, to be honest, any like dark colored shirts because I'm like, well, they're 100% poly, but you're still not going to be able to see them. So I'd rather just stick to the light colored t-shirts. And just remember, I want to quickly say I'm not opposed to sublimation, but that is one downside, that you are limited when it comes down to the garments. Maybe not to the other blanks because you can sublimate on anything that is cured for sublimation, but when it comes down to actual garments, you are limited because they have to be a specific color and they do have to be polyester to be able to sublimate on them. And then for these are just the Gildan 50/50 heavy blend, they call them, but they do have 50% polyester, 50% cotton. I just recommend anytime you're at the store just looking inside the tag. And here it is. This is just a simple white one that I've sublimated on it before. And then here is my example of how I sublimated on this t-shirt, minus the makeup stain, but here it is. Oh, and just quick disclaimer that if you guys want to shop this crew neck, it's now available on my website, so make sure you check it out. It just says tamale season. It's so cute. I love these little phrases and everything that I'm coming out with, so make sure you guys shop my website. And next I have the ones that are Gildan heavy cotton. They're actually 50/50 polyester and cotton as well, and they are considered to be heathered colors. The heathered colors basically just means that they have like little specks of white mixed in, and you can also check the tag to make sure they will work. Now I like these better for sublimation and bleaching just because that's what works. This is a sublimated t-shirt for Halloween that I did this year, that I just bleached it, put it out in the sun, did all that, the whole process. I have videos on my TikTok if you guys are interested. And then I went ahead and sublimated. The colors are very vibrant and they are there, and I really do love this process as well. So there you have it. You have your blanks polyester t-shirts that I recommend, crew necks, and then also just shirts that you can bleach and sublimate. Other things that I had mentioned earlier are these cases off of Amazon that I buy to sublimate on, that these are awesome and they work to put a nice picture on them with your sublimation. Air fresheners, which I've also purchased off of Amazon, that you can sublimate on. Or maybe even a baby bib if you're wanting to give a gift. You can sublimate on this garment because it does have polyester in it. Or maybe even some can openers that you can sublimate, customize these for Father's Day. They are so cool. There are so many blanks out there you guys can sublimate on. You guys just have to get creative and make sure they are cured for sublimation and you can actually use them as well. Alright, so the next question. How does one sublimate, or where can I design? Do I need a cutting machine? I need more info. Like, everybody wants to know this. So no, another great thing about sublimation is that you don't need a cutting machine and you can just simply print and apply heat to your project, and then voila, you have your finished product. I recommend using a software where you are not limited to how big you can print and cut For example, Cricuts, you are limited to printing and cutting through their software, so do not recommend that. I like free programs such as Silhouette Studio Basic free version, where you can print as big as you want as long as you have that wide format printer available to you. So no, you do not also need a Silhouette cutting machine to download the software. It is completely free. Once your design is finished, you just need to make sure that you adjust the settings to best quality. I have heard, and I've used as well, paper type as presentation paper matte, and you have to mirror your image because it's like a sheet of paper where you have your ink, you flip over your design to your garment, you press, and then you sublimate. I will go ahead and insert a video here from my TikTok that you guys are also able to see how that sublimation process is done. A lot of people on my TikTok, like I mentioned, have always asked me, how does this work? And basically, this is the explanation to these videos now that you guys are seeing on my TikTok. Also, the design will be facing the wrong way once you press it on the blank. So just beware. I really do hope these videos help you guys because it honestly was hard for me whenever I was starting. I didn't have much people to go to, honestly, whenever it came down to sublimation. So all I was doing is doing my research here on YouTube and just trying to ask around for help. Okay, sorry, my camera died, but I want to go ahead and finish this video. The last two questions that I have on here is, how can I find images for sublimation? Well, you don't really need a specific image for sublimation, so you can use any image that's flattened down that's not an SVG, like a layered format file. So more like a PNG where it's just an image with no background. If you prefer a whole background, that works too. But if you wanted to look something specifically on Etsy that is already made as a PNG image, I would recommend looking up whatever it is with the PNG keywords behind it, sublimation images, and then a whole bunch of listings will come up. Okay, so as far as any additional ending tips or tricks that I want to go ahead and include in here, if you are going to be printing a whole lot of sublimation images, since the printer is converted and after a lot of research, it's recommended that you either try to print on a weekly basis. And if not, what can happen if you do have a converted EPSON printer for sublimation, what will happen is that you will clog your printer heads. So what's recommended is that even if you don't need to print anything on a weekly basis at least, or just print random stuff just to kind of get ink flowing through the tanks, through the little holes on the actual printer, to not make sure it's clogged, because it does not have maintenance. Like if you did have an original Sawgrass printer, it would keep up with its own maintenance there. Also, another thing is, once you use your EPSON Workforce or your EcoTank printer, whichever one you converted over, it's not recommended that you switch anything back. So like, let's say one day you say, I don't want to do sublimation anymore and I want to have it for regular printing. It's really not recommended for you to be switching inks back and forth, because what EPSON doesn't like, well, the actual printer doesn't like, is converting again. So that's just some tips that I have heard. It's always recommended for you just to go buy a new printer, and I know that's hard to say. There has been some people that have been flushed it and that they work perfectly fine, and that's awesome. But just to me, I don't recommend switching back and forth all the time. Sublimation is just for sublimation, and keep your regular printers for your regular printers. And my last tip of them all, if you're wanting to get into sublimation but just are too scared to invest and you don't know if you're gonna like it or not, I would highly recommend you guys buying images off of somebody else that sells the actual prints and trying them out for yourself with your heat press, specifically on a garment or anything of that sort. And maybe that will help you decide if you want to go the sublimation route or if you want to keep it as a regular printer, or maybe, like, let's say, what if that's something that does not interest you? So it's always great to do so. I know for myself, whenever I was getting into sublimation, I actually did purchase images off somebody, tried them out, I loved it, I fell in love, and went ahead and did the change earlier this year in February and bought my sublimation printer. So I do hope this helps. Alright, amigas, so that is it for today's video on a little mini course on Sublimation 101 in a nutshell. If you guys have any other questions on sublimation or anything else, go ahead and drop a comment down below and I will get to you as quick as I can. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up on this video if you did enjoy it. And make sure you turn on your post notifications bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye!